Mission Christian Radio presents The Seventh Son, the story of King David of Israel, written for radio in 13 episodes by Colm Flanagan. Episode 9 is entitled The Beautiful Wife, Part 2.
My brother David, king of all Israel, had a problem, though as yet he didn't realise just how big a problem it would turn out to be. He'd had an affair and slept with Bathsheba, the beautiful wife of one of his army commanders, Uriah, and now Bathsheba was pregnant. A royal scandal of this sort was unthinkable. So what was he to do? He devised what he thought would be a good way out. He would bring Uriah back from the battlefront and arrange for him to spend some time with his wife so that Uriah would think that the child, when it came, was his. Uriah duly came to Jerusalem and made his report to David as planned. Then he had gone home to his wife, or so David thought.
What do you mean he's still here?
He didn't go home, David. He slept the night at the royal guardhouse, in the officers' quarters there.
But why? With Bathsheba waiting for him? Has the man taken some sort of vow not to sleep with his wife?
I don't know, but that's how it is.
Send for him.
Well, actually, he's waiting outside.
You don't think he knows about us?
I don't think so, David. He said he wanted to complete his report to you.
I don't care about that. But you'd better send him in anyway. Good morning to you. How is your wife? I'm sure she was glad to see you.
I don't know, Your Majesty.
You don't know? Why not?
Because I did not go home, Your Majesty. It seemed wrong to me.
Wrong? I gave you permission.
You did, and it was most gracious of you, Your Majesty. But the army is fighting a brutal war. The Sacred Ark and all the commanders are sleeping in tents or in the open. How could I alone of all of them spend a night at home in comfort in the arms of my wife? No, Your Majesty. It just wouldn't be right.
Yes, of course. Well, of course, it's your choice. I just thought... But never mind. Do stay another day in Jerusalem. Come to dinner with me, then go back to the army if that's your wish. Now, you were going to finish your report to me about the siege at Rabbah.
Inwardly, David was fuming. He tried to get Uriah drunk after dinner, but still Uriah showed no inclination to visit Bathsheba. Late that night, David came to my bedroom.
So, what am I to do? What is wrong with this Hittite? I mean, it's not even as though he were an Israelite. He's just a mercenary. But he has this ridiculous high devotion to what he sees as his duty to the army. The man's impossible.
You mean he's not doing what you want?
No, sleeping in the guardroom again. I got a message from Bathsheba to say he hadn't come home.
So she knows about this plan as well?
Of course. If Uriah won't go to her, well, maybe I will instead.
No, David, don't do that.
Nah, maybe not. Well, not tonight anyway. But I'm going to settle this business once and for all.
And how are you going to do that?
The problem as I see it is that I can't have Bathsheba while she has a husband, right?
Yes.
And if she wasn't married, it would be okay.
Yes, of course.
And her husband is a soldier. A very brave man. Agreed?
I don't see what you're getting at, but yes, he is both of those.
Well, being a soldier is a dangerous thing, especially a brave officer who leads his men from the front. People can get killed that way.
What exactly are you thinking?
Well, if Uriah, and remember he's only a mercenary really, not one of our own people, if he just happened to die in action, Bathsheba would be a widow, and after a decent period of mourning, I could bring her to the palace as my wife.
I was horrified at this. My brother had already killed people fighting before, but this was just murder. I was speechless. He looked at me, then he left the room. He wrote a letter to Joab, the army commander. In it, he explained what he wanted Joab to do. He knew Joab would ask no questions. He sent the letter with Uriah, who left for the front the next morning. A few days later, a messenger arrived from the army, now camped before the city of Rabbah and besieging it.
Now, Captain, you report on the latest action in the siege. Have you any good news for me?
Well, Your Majesty, the Army Commander reports as follows. Army Command decided to push forward a small group of specially picked men, led by Uriah, to test in depth the enemy forces. These proved to be unexpectedly greater in numbers than anticipated, and made a foray out of the city. Our men were cut off. They fought bravely, but were forced to retire and suffered some casualties.
What? Why did you go so close to the city? Doesn't command know that they would shoot arrows from the walls? This was a rash act. I will want a proper explanation from Joab. Now, what exactly were our casualties?
We lost a number of soldiers, but the most significant loss was the commander, Uriah the Hittite. He was killed. I am sorry, Your Majesty. He was a fine soldier and a brave man.
Well, what's done is done. You never know who will get killed in a battle. Very well. Tell the army command to pursue the enemy in strength. No more half-hearted attempts that will only lose men needlessly. You may go now. Get some refreshment before you return.
Secretly, David was pleased. His plan had worked. So, after a period of mourning, David brought the lovely Bathsheba to the palace as his wife, and in due course their son was born. For David, it seemed, there'd been a happy ending. But he was wrong. It wasn't over, not by any means. It was some months after the child was born when one day I met Nathan. Nathan was a prophet who'd often spoken to David of the Lord's will. As a result, he had been given the right to see David at any time. And this was what he was going to do now. So we went together to meet David at his palace.
Ah, Nathan, it's been a while since I saw you. How are you?
I am well, Your Majesty.
And what can I do for you? Or have you got a message for me from the Lord?
Well, it's about an injustice which has come to my attention, Your Majesty.
An injustice? What kind of injustice?
Let me explain. A rich man and a poor man lived in the same town. The rich man owned a lot of sheep and cattle, but the poor man only had one little lamb that he bought and raised. The lamb became a pet for him and his children. He even let it drink from his cup and sleep in his lap. It was like one of his own children.
I mean, very interesting, but what's the point of this, Nathan?
Well, one day someone came to visit the rich man. But the rich man didn't want to kill a sheep from any of his flocks. So he stole the poor man's pet lamb and he served it instead.
What? What a despicable thing to do. I won't tolerate that kind of monstrous injustice. I swear by the living God that that rich man deserves to die. Now, I can't have him executed, but because he showed no pity on the poor man, he'll pay him 4 times the value of the lamb. Nathan, you must tell me, who was it did this? Now, come on, Nathan.
It is you, David.
What did you say?
You heard. You are that rich man. Now listen to what the Lord says. I chose you to be king of Israel. I kept you safe from Saul. I let you rule Israel and Judah, and I would give you much more. Why did you disobey me and do such a horrible thing? You had Uriah the Hittite murdered so that you could take his wife. And because of this, your own family will never live in peace. Someone from your own family will rebel against you, and I will let him take your wives in public. What you did in secret, I will have done in public for everyone in Israel to see.
Oh my God. What have I done?
You knew it was all wrong, didn't you, David?
I have disobeyed the Lord.
You have, and this is the consequence. You didn't listen to anyone's advice, and you didn't ask the Lord. Yet even now he forgives you personally. But the consequences will still be serious. You won't die, though maybe you deserve to. But the child of your affair with Bathsheba, your newborn son, he will die.
No, not that. Nathan, please.
I will leave you now, Your Majesty. Goodbye.
David slumped into a chair. He was struck dumb. I left. There was nothing anyone could do. The child fell ill. Bathsheba was distraught. David fasted and prayed. He even lay prostrate on the floor. No one could reach him in his grief. 7 days passed, and then Bathsheba came in as I watched my brother lying on the floor, silent, apparently unconscious. Nothing could move him.
Bathsheba, what's happened? You're crying. Is it...
It's my son. Our son. He's dead. He died about an hour ago. I can't face telling David. What am I going to do?
Someone will have to tell him.
I know.
I think it should be you, Bathsheba. I can't deny that I think what you and David did was wrong, but what's...
I didn't have my husband killed.
I didn't say you did, but you knew what David was planning, didn't you? I thought so. Look, what's done is done. It's in the past, but you and he will both have to live with that, and the consequences the Lord told you of. David is going to need you now desperately, Bathsheba. Go to him. Tell him.
Tell him what? What has happened? What's all the whispering in corners about?
David, our son, he's dead. I was just holding him in my arms. As I held him, he died. And it was just a little while ago. David.
Oh my love. Then it's over. It's over. I must go to the Lord's tent. I must go and worship. I will come back to you soon, my love.
David did return later, and then he washed and ate. Everyone was surprised at this, not least me.
David, I don't get this. You went without eating, you prostrate yourself on the ground, you were inconsolable while your son lived. Now he's dead, and you're up and eating.
Yeah, I know. While the child was alive, I still hoped that he might be spared. I said to myself, well, you never know. Maybe the Lord will pity me in my dreadful state and let the child live. But it was no good. I suppose deep down I realised that. Now the child is dead. It's done. Will my death help him now? I can't bring him back. Some day I'll join him. But he can't return to me.
And so the crisis passed. Bathsheba and David grew closer to each other as a result of this tragedy, and in time she bore him another son. They called him Solomon. Nathan came again and told David that this boy would be called Jedediah, which means loved by the Lord. David returned to his army and led them to victory against the Ammonites. A new and peaceful era seemed to be about to dawn, but the words of Nathan's prophecy had yet to be fulfilled.
In episode 9, The Seventh Son, the narrator and seventh son was played by John Lander, and other parts were played by members of the Commission radio drama team. The play was produced in Belfast at Commission Studios by Colm Flanagan. Episode 10 is entitled The Rebellious Son, Part 1.